All right, my friends, welcome on board. It is, May 26th, 7 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast time on a Sunday. Hope you're having a nice day out there. It's freaking hot out here in North Georgia. Right now, it's, 91 degrees here, my friends. 90, look at that. 90, excuse me. Look at that heat right there. Oh, yeah. 90 degrees. Give me the 90s throughout the rest of the week. Is nuts. Let's see what it is. My favorite town in the world, Rapid City, huh? 71 in Rapid City. All right. Last time we talked, it was snowing last week. What's going on from New York City? 80 plus there. Right on. So we got lots to talk about. Tina, happy Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, happy Memorial Day weekend to you as well. Hope you're enjoying the weather for sure, wherever in the neck of the woods you are, Tina. And I always forget, what was that? What's your icon there? It's I always forget. I always want to say Chicago Cubs, but it's not. Long Island, New York, another New Yorker. Right on. Right on. Fantastic. Ready for the Stanley Cup Finals, eh? Tomorrow, St. Louis Blues, the first time they've been in the Stanley Cup Finals since before I was born. The year I was born, they were in the Stanley Cup Finals. Nuts, man. Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, been there many times doing seminars. Absolutely. Madison, Huntsville, saw the old Huntsville Stars in their last year before they packed up, went to Mobile, and I think they're back, is my understanding. Speaking of which, just while we're talking, I used to do tons of seminars back in my day. Philly, right on, okay. Philadelphia. So if, go Bruins, that's right. So if you're ever needing of a speaker of some sort, let me know. I don't know what I'm ever going to do in terms of how much. I don't know how it works, but I enjoy doing seminars. I like it. So if you ever need somebody that you like through your church group, whatever, I'd be happy to oblige for sure. What's going on, Rob W? Go Bruins. Can't wait. Mike Ham in the house. Right on. We're trying a little bit different because Riverside, California. All right. Patricia Gomez. Worcester, all right. Oh, that's where you're from, Rob. My sister went to Holy Cross, Worcester, as did my uncle, too. And you know who else went to Holy Cross? Clarence Thomas. What was I saying there? Oh, I forgot. So I'm doing Sunday. I do these normally on Monday, but given tomorrow's Memorial Day, I'm not doing it tomorrow. And then, of course, Stanley Cup Finals. So we can't get away the Stanley Cup Finals. Game one, no way. Well, I'll do that instead. So I'm doing it on a Sunday night. But I do these on a regular Monday is what I've been trying to do and going forward as well. And so because of that, if you're wondering why am I doing it now too, and then there's no Game of Thrones, what a nightmare that was. I never really got into it. Hello, Talat from Michigan, if I recall. I never got into Game of Thrones so much, but it was a weird ending. Kind of like, you remember that stupid show Lost? That was dumb. All right, so one thing I do want to start out with, I want to start off by looking at the Secure Act. Yeah. So, hey, Rob, greetings, Rob. Got some. So let me talk about the Secure Act first and foremost, because it's going to pass. It's going to be bipartisan legislation. Everybody wants to be bipartisan, especially going into a new year, new congressional elections next year. They're going to. This is what always happens. They go to the left, they go to the right, and then they come to center. This is old Nixon, tried and true, and it's going to happen again. Hello, Debbie. My man Rob's in the house, and so it's going to have the same thing. So what they want to say is, when they're trying to appeal to the middle, we pass bipartisan legislation. The Secure Act is one. So I was reading an article from a guy today from Forbes. Jamie Hopkins actually had written in Forbes, and that name is awful familiar. He works for Carson Wealth Management, and if it's Carson, and I forgot the dude's first name, I'm familiar with that firm. But Jamie Hopkins, I think, used to be a tax guy, if I'm not mistaken, who's written a lot in Forbes. So still lots of buffering, even right now. Man, it's not driving me up the wall. I was watching my man Wrangler Star, and he had lots of. I've watched 3 other live podcasts or live streams, and they all had some buffering. So I don't get it. I don't understand why it's doing that. VMA 1535. He's retiring, or she's retiring this Thursday. That's fantastic. All right. So hopefully, Tina, the buffering will stop. I don't know what to make of it. All right, sweet. It's enough to drive man crazy. My favorite sandwich, Amato's Italian Subs. in Portland, Maine, man. Amados cannot go wrong there. All right, no buffer, no head. Good, good, good. So that's all right, sweet. I'm getting a lot of no buffering, so I'm glad to hear that. All right, so the Secure Act. All right, so the first and foremost, there's two significant things you got to be aware of, and number one is they're gonna push the RMDs up a couple years, which is great. It's just not that big of a deal. I mean, they're gonna push it up to 72 and 75. Hey, search it right on, man. It's 75 in the Senate bill, and the House bill is 72. Again, they're going to do a conference. What happens to the conference committees? You don't know what comes out the back end. I had a video on the Secure Act today. Apparently, the volume was pretty jacked up because I was using this computer here, and I guess the speakers on that, and I was using this speaker right here, this mic, and I guess it doesn't stay connected very well on the bottom. Anyway, so I took it off. I'll do it again. All right, good. So, all right. So Tina's saying this looks like it might be only her phone and buffering, but I appreciate the heads up, Tina. I'm glad it's only your phone, but I appreciate the heads up. All right. So they're going to push the RMDs up. And the RMDs are just required minimum distributions, my friends. And this is a good thing. We want the RMDs to be pushed back as far as possible, simply because we want more time to be able to take money out and do Roth conversions, which is going to go to part 2 of the Secure Act. And I can almost assure you this is going to become law. They're going to have mandatory limits on how they can stretch out your IRAs for non-spouse beneficiaries. You can see this happen a mile away. And frankly, I don't have any qualm with that. This is one of the issues I don't have. And this is what the unanimous decision of the Supreme Court in 2014, which allowed for inherited IRAs to be subject to creditors and predators and in-laws and outlaws. All right. So that's what we say about estate planning. You want to keep it away from creditors and predators, in-laws and outlaws. And that's the fact that the unanimous decision by the Supreme Court with Sotomayor and Clarence Thomas and everybody in between, where they said inherited IRAs can be subject to lawsuits and liability claims. It's only a matter of time before the inherited IRAs lose that stretch IRA, that they'll have to be abandoned or fully distributed within a certain amount of time. So because of that, two things happening here, and of course, no one's talked about this yet, but I'll tell you what it means is that Roth IRA is going to play a much more important role for sure, simply because if you have a not an elongated, the whatever the reverse of elongated, a shortened, I guess, if you have a shortened time for these inherited IRAs to be fully distributed, that just means more and more taxes to your heirs, without question. That's going to happen. And so because that, especially if you're leaving your IRA to an anesthesiologist or someone who's making big money, someone's playing for the Oakland A's or something like that, that person is going to get hammered from a tax perspective, which means it's bad. Now, Roth IRAs probably won't be excluded from that, but they will be shortened distributions that will be tax-free. I hope that makes sense. So given that they're going to most likely push the RMDs, and I don't know how it's going to come out with conference, we'll just say 74, all right? You have 4 extra years to do Roth conversions before RMDs kick in. Man, you'd be crazy not to do it, knowing full well that your heirs are not going to be able to stretch these IRAs out over their life expectancies. I hope that makes sense. That's a looks like something's floating around there. That's a big deal. And they're going to work congruently, hand in hand, without question. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. Now, it's not law yet. We don't know what's going to come out of conference, but if something's going to happen, it's going to be bipartisan. Someone had mentioned it was a sop to the annuity companies. I couldn't agree more. There's definitely 2 things in there that allows for more annuitization. That you can do 2. In fact, 401k providers will be, it looks like, not nearly held accountable for annuity companies to offer their goods in their 401ks. The reason 401k providers did not want to do that, they didn't want to have to be held accountable if they gave some crappy annuity company. And now it looks like there's going to be some opportunity for the 401k providers to not have to bear the brunt of picking some crappy annuity company. And of course, this is the thing with 403B plans, which still pisses me off to this day. I mean, the annuity companies just went in there and ripped people apart with high fees. Teachers. I mean, there's just no 2 ways around it. You got a teacher in New Jersey making $55,000 a year who's 57 years old and is just single. She may or may not know what the heck is going on, but she got hammered when it came to fees. And if she wanted to have a different annuity or different company to provide her 401k investments, she couldn't. Freaking nuts, man. And so anyway, now, and I'm not, that won't happen to 401ks, but now you have these insurance companies noodling their way in with their higher fee products. And they're going to also have a statement on the 401k that says how much the lump sum would be in terms of guaranteed monthly income. And I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with that at all. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a statement. Did y'all see the video I did on the Ameriprise statement? I don't know if y'all saw that today. I don't think I can show it here. I don't know. One of these days I'll figure it out. But you see this Ameriprise statement and you see the holdings that are in the account. And then on the annuities, on the 401k statement, have the holdings on there. And then it's going to say over here, this could guarantee you $1,500 a monthly income. And okay, right on, Sky. And so that's what they're going to try to do on the annuity, on the 401ks, to show you they could give you this monthly income. The question will be that adjusted for inflation, will even show you how much inflation to eat you alive. I'm going to do a video tomorrow on how inflation adjusted SPIAs, single premium immediate annuities, are not worth it. In fact, my man David Blanchett, who's done tons of research on retirement planning, he's the head of research for Morningstar. And I've never met the guy. He doesn't know me from Adam, but I follow him like Santa Claus on NORAD. Remember NORAD, who follows Santa Claus? Well, I follow David Blanchett like I was following Santa Claus on Christmas Eve night. So if he writes something, I write it. And he just wrote a thing for Advisor Perspectives that talks about inflation adjusted SPIAs are not worth anything. And I completely agree with that. So I don't know what's going to look like for the 401k providers. It worries me that it's going to be a sop essentially to the insurance companies. Again, the lobbying of the insurance companies the arms are heavy. And so we shall see, but that's two concerns for me, because they're going to put on there, hey, this is what your monthly income could be if you annuitize it. Insurance companies love that. And then we're going to have an option for annuities in the 401k, and how much those fees are, I don't know. Will they be disclosed? Well, I got to tell you, if you watch my Ameriprise video, this friggin' ticks me off too, man. I literally showed you the monthly fee this lady was paying, 1.5%, or the annual fee was divided up into 12 increments. So 1.5% on her investment accounts, all right? Did not include, there's no line item for the fees that are in the mutual funds that she had as well. And those range anywhere from 0.65. Never ceases to amaze. So it's just me in here all by my lonesome, and now I'm seeing people are logging off. That sucks. All right. Anyway, that's fine. So anyway, what this lady statement shows that she had these accounts. She had I saw that buffering. Yeah, I saw that, my man Rob. Hopefully that will be a one-time thing. Looks like stable now. Yep, I got that. So you guys are saying buffering. It looks like we're good now. I think we're good now. No, I think so. We'll keep rolling. Yeah, right on. All right. So I don't know what the hell is going on. Yeah, right on. Anyway, if it does that, just ask for some patience. I don't know what happens here. No one's in the house, so there's no one on the Wi-Fi or anything. So hey, Ms. Tweedy, June C. Okay. So just we'll be in here until the day is done for sure. Anyway, so I did this video on Ameriprise, and it showed that she had these fees, investment management fees, but it didn't show the mutual fund fees. And some of those funds are bonds, and the bonds are paying 0.65, 0.75% as well. And I'm like, this is freaking nuts, man. She's paying 2.1% all in, and I guarantee she's only seeing 2/3, if half of 2/3 of that fee. It's nuts, and I hate that stuff. And that's my concern with these annuity companies getting into side of 401ks. Are they going to be showing the total fees? I don't know, and I don't get it. So the only issue is the lobbyists write the bills, my friends. The Congress people don't write them. I mean, ultimately they write it, but the lobbyists are the ones who bring the bills to the people they're paying essentially to hear them out, to write the stuff. Who do you think wrote the ACA, the Affordable Health Care Act? You think it was it wasn't Obama, certainly. He doesn't write the freaking bill. Barney Frank? No, he's listened to what the hospitals are saying, and the AMA, the American, whatever it's called, physicians, American Medical, they're telling him what to write. So they freaking give him a draft. Barney Frank back then writes his draft up. And he says, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's all lobbying. This isn't, and the insurance company's doing the same thing. So we'll see about the Secure Act. There wasn't much. And then they said, we're going to make it easier for small plans to get together and offer a 401k retirement plan for a $500 tax credit. Whip-de-flip-and-do. Or like my man Rob says, he doesn't trust them. maybe unfounded fear. Look, it's not an unfounded fear, Rob. We got the evidence of them not disclosing their fees. I mean, this is evidence. Their evidence is on that time and again. And look, annuities in of themselves are not evil or good. They're inanimate objects. It's the way they're used, though. Similar to asset management fees are not bad, but when Ameriprise has an asset management account, I guarantee they didn't disclose the full fee to this lady. And it turns out she's paying 1.5% to the fund manager. And I guarantee they did not tell her how much it was going to be in terms of dollars. They told her how much it's going to be in fees. It's going to be 1.5. FYI, and I'm on a little rampant here. When an investment manager says, how much do you charge? Or you ask them how much you charge, you're always going to say in their percentage. They'll never say in the dollar amount. I did a podcast with a guy yesterday. And I said, make sure you get them to say in the dollar. All right, you charge 1%. How much is that? How much is that? I talked to some wonderful people in California who have Charles Schwab. It's Charles Schwab, right? I mean, they're as clear as the wind, clean as wind-driven snow. And the guy's like hemming and hawing. And he's like, dude, just tell me how much the friggin' fee is. I got $500,000 to do. How much is it? Just tell me the dollar amount. What is so hard about that? Anyway, so and that's the thing with a 401k is that you have no other option. If you're working for the company and the annuity is the way for the 401k provider to allow you to get a guaranteed income for the rest of your life that you cannot live, and it gives them the ability to step back from any kind of liability, it's bad things can happen from that. So that's my concern there. All right, part 2 about the Secure Act, the small businesses getting together. That's no big deal. I mean, my goodness, do you really think 4 or 5, 10-person electrician shops are going to get together with each other, offer, small business plans for $500 tax credit? It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm not going to do that. And so when we're talking about this retirement income crisis, so to speak, none of this address that. I mean, I like the RMD. I do have no qualm with getting rid of your limited time to take minimum distributions on inherited IRAs. But on that, I don't have any issue that this retirement plan thing is that big of a deal. All right, so let's see. We have some notes in here. Let's see. Again, VMA is retiring on Friday. That's awesome. The RMD age limit should be 75. Everyone's going to get their taxes. Yep. Bruce, right on, man. My anniversary yesterday. Yes, in case y'all didn't watch. 22 years, my 23 year right now without a drink. And who was I talking to today about pounding some beers? But man, I was talking to some guy. I forgot who it was. And I miss it. I like doing it, but as you get older, I don't have the time for that crap. Actually, no. I was listening to Bill Burr. Was it Bill Burr? He was saying he didn't want his. No, it wasn't Bill Burr. I forgot who it was, but somebody was saying they didn't want their kids to see them drunk. And in my children's lifetime, they've never once seen me drunk. And for me, that's a big flipping deal. The idea of them seeing me in my surly drunken days, which was only 5% of the time, but all right, they should have increased the yearly Roth contribution. Yeah, Tom, what they should have done. I hear you, brother, but back to this Ameriprise thing. Roth IRA for brokerage would have $11,000 in it. Then another line item right underneath that was Roth IRA for their advisory account. I guarantee you, I'll bet you $1 million to Sunday that she had a good old fashioned Roth IRA brokerage account that Ameriprise was getting commissions on. This is my problem with the investment industry. And my man Jack, who I interviewed yesterday, he and I were talking about this, that what happens is a lot of these firms will sell you commission-based products on the front end for a couple of years. They'll get you in the system. They'll get you comfortable and liking the guy. And then they're going to call you and put you in advisory products, i.e. managed money products, like what happened here. So this lady has 2 line items. For some reason, she still has the one Roth account with $11,000 in it, but she had the other one moved. It had like $211,000 to an advisory account. I guarantee you, 2 years ago, she just had one brokerage Roth IRA, and Ameriprise was getting commissions to sell her stuff. I guarantee you that. A couple years later, Ameriprise says, we have a different way now, a different approach. Let's move you into this managed account. Who do you think's making out better in this transaction? Is it Ameriprise or is this woman? It's the freaking Ameriprise. It infuriates me. And then Jack was telling us on the podcast yesterday about these folks up in Northern Virginia who call themselves fiduciaries who are freaking trading stocks, just doing non-tradable real estate investment trust, then putting a third of this woman's account in fixed annuities, getting commissions, front-end commission, and all that, and still at the same time holding themselves as fiduciaries. Freaking nuts, man. All right, let's keep going here. Nothing wrong with watch on your phone, Miss Tweety. Let's see. This really isn't much of a change. They need to make some serious changes to get rid of some of the stupid limitations. Yeah, I mean, look, as much as I don't think that's 2100 Act, I forgot what's called, the 2100 Act, is I don't think that's going to, I mean, whatever that comes out of conference, if that even passes the House, never mind a portion of the Senate. What I like best about that is dealing with the inflation adjustments for Social Security. That was a huge deal for sure. That right there, look, I was reading this article today on the video, and I said it's the most sweeping retirement legislation since 2006. Whip-de-flip and do. I mean, it's just literally, it's such small potatoes. To even use those adjectives is just, it's clickbait. That is. And I said it because it's clickbait, but I'm literally repeating what these stupid people are saying. No. If you want a sweeping legislation since 1983, that 2100 Act, and I forgot what the first term is for it, that's the way to go. That would be huge because that would deal with the quote unquote crisis for sure. That's not out there anyway, but this won't, Santa Claus, this won't do anything. So I just not that big of a deal, but REITs. Yeah, I mean, going to REITs, I got no problem with REITs, man. None, as long as they're traded. But if you're buying non-tradable REITs, like, and again, in the Ameriprise thing, they had a ticker OAK with a apostrophe, then some other letter A, or I don't know I've never seen a ticker with an apostrophe. I think even Berkshire Hathaway is BRKA, BRKB. There's no apostrophe there. I don't know what the apostrophe means for a ticker symbol on some of this real estate investment trust that this woman had in her portfolio. I don't know what that meant. So my presumption was it's not publicly traded, which means they're privately traded, which means there's no market for it. So if she were to need to sell them, she couldn't. And that's a problem, man. But REITs as a whole, I got no problem with that. Whoa. Let's see here. A lot of 401ks now like annuity. Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Who's this? Yosho something. A lot of 401ks now allow you to annuitize and plan after retirement. Absolutely, they do. That's exactly right. A lot of when you get ready to retire, you'll get a statement that says right there how much you can get for a joint life survivor annuity, a single annuity. I mean, I don't get why. Most mutual fund fees in Canada are 2%. Damn, that's nuts. It's funny, the government trying to reform retirement income, but doesn't want to address the Social Security funding issues. Until I don't know how they're going to do that. At some point, this is where Trump's got to use his bully pulpit for sure, because everyone can put it on Trump and say, "Hey, Trump, I didn't want to do it, but you took me along kicking and screaming." And look, as I've always said, if Trump could go down in history as one of the most effective presidents, would get Social Security adjusted for sure. I have a sneaky suspicion he knows that, but I don't know if he'll ever get through. I don't know. I mean, the lobbying power of these various firms are through the roof. Insurance companies. Why do you think there's so many insurance company advertisers everywhere you look? Insurance companies advertising is because this is a freaking cash cow. I mean, for USAA is cash cow. USAA went into wealth management thinking wealth management would supplement, if not outright replace, property casualty insurance. So they're cash cow. I mean, they're just printing money in the basement, man, with property and casualty insurance, as is Progressive, as is Geico. So the USAA went to wealth management, and now they're not doing it anymore because they realize wealth management is just not there relative, and it's only getting squeezed. The fees are getting squeezed. And that's what the funny thing is too. It's like, wait a second, you're not just USAA. You're supposed to be there for your customer, but when the fees get squeezed so low that you can't make that much profit, you run for the hills. What the hell is that? I thought you're there for the customer. If you're there for the customer and the fees are getting squeezed, that's a good thing. Well, not good enough. We're not making enough profit. Every firm does that. Why do you think Merrill Lynch went to this Merrill Edge thing? Smith Barney did the same damn thing. It's who are they now? Morgan Stanley. You got less than $250,000, they put you in some call center. They don't refund the commissions or the fees you paid. Let's see. It's funny that how do they calculate the earnings limit? For example, if you retire in March, are your earnings? Man, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember. Second Life. That's a great question. If anyone else remember, I just can't remember. And I don't want to say something I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't recall. So the question is on the earnings limit before your full retirement age, so you don't quote unquote lose your benefit until you hit FRA. How do they calculate it? If you only work a third of the year, does that third of the year? I can't recall. Miss Tweedy, glad to show how to find fees. Yeah. So remember, if you have a 5-letter ticker, that's going to be a mutual fund. All right. So if you have a 5-letter ticker in a advisory account, all right, where you're paying a fee and it's a 5-letter ticker, most mutual funds are going to charge fees of upwards to 1%. Even if they're F shares or I shares, which is institutional, even if they're what's called A shares without the front end load being waived, they're going to charge up to 1% roughly. So if I'm paying Ameriprise 1.5 in my mutual funds, I'm also paying 0.85. Inherently, I'm paying 2.35% to fees, and you're not going to make any money doing that. And the interesting thing is Ameriprise, they had this lady in some ETFs, but they also had her like John Hancock and Wells Fargo. Anytime you see those guys, insurance companies are big banks, the fees are going to be through the roof. So let me ask you a question. How does Wells Fargo get their crappy mutual funds on the platform of Ameriprise? How does John Hancock do that? You can't sit there and say it's because their performance is so good or what is it that causes them to be sold by Ameriprise? Now think about that. You're saying, yeah, how come John Hancock? How come Ameriprise? Oh, not Ameriprise. How come these funds are getting on the platforms of Ameriprise? And I don't know what TD, I don't know what these other firms do. I just looked at an Ameriprise account. How do they get on there? There's no American funds in this lady's portfolio. It was Vanguard ETFs, iShares ETFs, which is fine, and a bunch of high-fee mutual funds. High-fee mutual funds, we know for a fact their fees are going to be underwhelming. So, their performance is going to be underwhelming. So how do they get in the platform? Well, they freaking pay. It's pay to play. We all know this happens. And yet, where's the compliance there? Why is compliance saying we got crappy old Wells Fargo funds, John Hancock funds in here, when we don't have American funds, which is literally one of the only fund companies that actually is freaking worth a damn when it comes to a fee-based, an actively managed fee account, a kind of account. There's no American funds. John Hancock, insurance company, Wells Fargo, a Fidelity Advisor. Why we got Fidelity Advisor funds in there when we could just have the straight Fidelity? The Fidelity funds are cheaper than the Fidelity Advisor. Why are they in a managed fee portfolio? So they're skimming two sets of fees off this lady. And the thing that pisses me off, pardon my French, oh man, I'm getting all fired up now, is that this lady doesn't know what one of the fees are costing her. She doesn't know unless she looks deep at her statement, which very few people do because it's not front and center on the statement of fees. She doesn't know that either. Now, the funny thing is, and this is another one of my pet peeves, is that the fees that come out of her account to pay the stupid investment manager are tax-free to her. It's not a taxable distribution. And if you want to get these people screaming and hollering, which I do, let's make those fees that come out of IRAs taxable because they are distributions. They are distributions from an IRA coming from your account to that guy's account. His checking account is coming from your account, your IRA to his checking account tax-free. How the hell does that happen? You take any other money out of your account and put it in your checking account and see if you're not paying taxes on that. Oh, well, he's paying taxes on the income. Okay. But she's not paying tax on the distribution. How's that right? That's freaking crazy. Now, thankfully, under the TCJA, the Trump tax bill, they did get rid of investment management being deductible expense. Thank God, because that's nuts. But how come these guys aren't being deductible or being taxed from their IRA? You want to make these guys squeal and start going back the way of really just charging fee for service. You say you can no longer deduct IRA fees without paying income tax as a distribution. And man, you'd find the industry changing like that. So, we've been doing this wrong this whole time, but they don't have to change because they get away with this crap right here. I would love to see the freaking SEC go down there and audit these people like they're supposed to do and say, show me that this lady knew she was paying twice the fee that you told her about. Show me she knows that. But no. They're going to go after some guy who's a financial advisor who's trying to write a Facebook post about why he likes Roth IRAs. Oh, you can't do that. Freaking. All right. Sorry about that. Freaking insane. Drives me up the wall. Yeah. All right. So I don't know about how you calculate the earnings limit off the top of my head. I'm all for my man Rob. I'm all for encouraging people to auto enroll. Tough to get younger folks to start saving. I agree. Can you imagine any tax situation would not help your retirement by increasing your what? All right. Yeah. So I mean, so Troy Middlestat, not the Middlestat gardening, Midlander. Okay, never mind. Middlestat, can you imagine any tax situation where it not help your retirement by increasing your Roth contribution? Yes, absolutely. If you're a single taxpayer, and like my man VJ, he's not even single. He's married filing jointly. He's in a 35% tax bracket. And when he retires, he will only be probably in the 22 at most, if not 12. So he shouldn't be doing Roth IRAs, in my opinion. He should be doing straight up deductible. And then when he converts and goes to a lower tax, so he's here now. Wait till he's done working his crap old job, then start doing mass conversions. Absolutely. A lot of times for single people, Troy, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense while you're working because you're making so much money. I mean, if you're single, you don't have a whole lot of deductions in your tax credits. Like I got 4, you don't. If you're single, most likely. You're making pretty good money, and that income will stop upon you leaving the workplace. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to be paying 35% tax to pay 35% tax today to avoid 12 to 22 in the future. That's not a good thing to do. If I convert, yeah, right on, Scott. That's right on. He says I'm planning not to have any RMDs to worry about if my conversion plan works out. Could not agree more. Bob says we need to go back towards defined benefit pensions, 401k schemes, put more responsibility. Yeah, but Bob, there's never a time in the history of America where DB plans were that prevalent in the private sector, at least. I mean, there just wasn't. I mean, everyone seems to think in the 50s and 60s, everyone had a pension. Just very few people. I think like the max is 25%. Oh, man, Chris and Megan, give me $10 on a Snapchat thing or whatever it's called. Much obliged, Chris and Megan. If you got something you want to say, you go to the front of the line. What's that called? It's not Snapchat. I forgot what these things are called where you give me money. I appreciate it, though. I forgot what they're called. All right, so here's any favorite fund families. Oh, wait a second. All right, here we go. I missed my friend Ms. Tweedy. The fund fees charged on the money in that particular fund, like if that fund is $3K, but the total account is $55K. It's okay. This is a good question, Ms. Tweedy. All right, I want to ask. This is a great question because this is going to go to one of my other annoyances about variable annuities as well. So she says, does a fund fee charge on the money in that particular fund? So the account value is $55K, but this fund is only $3K. So for this Ameriprise woman, they're only going to charge on the $3K in that fund. All right. So if the fund charges 1%, it'll be $3, if that makes sense. Now, but the other thing is all the rest of the funds have their own fees as well. So essentially each fund is going to be charging 1%. So if you got $55,000 in there, you're going to pay $550 on top of whatever stupid management fee you're paying. But I want to talk about variable annuities here because this is a pet peeve of mine, and I'm going to see if I can't figure out how I can draw this to make it make sense in my whiteboard here. Variable annuities, and I'm not going to go I'm just going to use variable annuities right now. Variable annuities will charge you what's called an M&E expense, mortality and expense. And I don't know why they say mortality and expense, but it's M&E expense, mortality and expense. Usually it's about 1.35%. And what that simply says is essentially a death benefit that says no matter what happens, you put $100,000 in the variable annuity in we'll say October 2007, and you die in March of 2009. We will guarantee your heirs get that $100,000 you put in, regardless, as long as you haven't taken any money out, regardless of the market value is. Does that make sense? So in that horrible situation, the worst case scenario since the Great Depression, your account value probably went to about $80,000, $75,000, $80,000, because a lot of variable annuities will not allow you to go to 100% stocks anyway, because of the risks that they're insuring. So basically, what happens is you have $100,000, your portfolio fell 25%, now sitting at $75,000. You die because you open up a statement and you couldn't believe how much you're getting paid for fees, and it just killed you right there. They're going to give to your spouse. They'll make up the difference and give to your spouse $100,000 you put in. That's an M&E. So that costs 1.35%, which is $1,350 every single year. Every single year. So now let's draw this out. So now all of a sudden, all right, we've got back to 2019 now. We started with the $100,000. I don't know where my black pen is. And now it's worth $200,000. All right, so there's our $100,000, and now it's worth $200,000. Our 1.35% is on this amount right here. It's not on that amount. It's on this amount right here. So now it's whatever 1.35 times 2 is. What's that, $2,700 or something for a death benefit that is never going to come to fruition because I have $200,000 of cash value. Even if that sucker dropped by 50%, I'm still only at $100,000. So, I mean, I'm still right where I was. I'm literally paying for something that will never be used because unless that falls significantly, more than any time in history other than the Great Depression, I will never have the account drop that much in which I would need to enact a death benefit, if that makes sense. But yet that M&E never goes away. It just sits there. It just sits there. It sits there always. It stays there. And you're always paying it and you're getting no benefit for it whatsoever. It's freaking insane. So what happens now is the insurance company says, well, we don't want this to grow to a $200,000 to begin with because we don't want to take that significant risk where we have to make up the difference if the market gets crushed. So because of that, we're only going to allow you to be 75% stocks, 25% bonds at most, and we're going to have the 1.35, which is a huge headwind on your fees. And some of these same freaking mutual fund companies are going to be in the variable annuity. Wells Fargo, John Hancock, you see them all day long. The same exact companies in the variable annuity that are in the Ameriprise thing. Why? Because they pay to play. And so now you're sitting there, you're thinking, well, you're never going to get $200,000 in a variable annuity unless it's been open for a long, long time. It's never going to happen. And so because of that, you're paying for this that you'll never use, ever. Now, what will happen on top of that is they'll say, all right, Ms. Tweedy, we want to give you a death benefit enhancement, which says at the end of the day, if your $100,000 grows to $200,000, we will guarantee, unless you start taking money out, we will guarantee that $200,000 to your heirs, but it's not going to cost you 1.35% a year. It's going to cost you 1.65% a year. I mean, so you're sitting there thinking, what am I getting for this? Well, you're getting the downside protection. You're like, no, I'm not. I have to be dead for that life insurance component to kick in. All right, so even worse than that. Now it's 1.65. The annuity company says, I'm going to guarantee that you can never leave less than $200,000 to your heirs for 1.65% a year, because it's 1.3 just on the base of the annuity to do it, and then it's adding another 35 or 25 basis points for the privilege of you paying more. So now we got $200,000 times 1.65%. That's a big fat $3,300 a year that you're paying. All right. So now you got a guaranteed death benefit of $200,000. I hope this is making sense. And he probably bored you to death because I'm yapping here, but I don't care. I'm going to say, all right. So now let's say it falls to $180,000. All right. So it falls to $180,000 and you die because all the hot air I'm spewing on this podcast or whatever. So now it's $20,000 difference. And now you die. Your heirs get that $200,000. So the insurance company makes up $20,000 of difference. They were charging you $3,300 each and every year for the ability to make out $20,000. So essentially, you were paying $3,300 a year for a $20,000 life insurance. It's freaking the biggest scam ever, man. It's a huge scam. And again, no, don't have Josh say anything about a Roth IRA on Facebook. We got to go after Josh because that's crazy talk. But let's not talk about how these fees are. And you ever see the fee? You ever get an invoice? No. Thankfully, lately, at least some of the annuities are starting to show some of the more fee. It's nuts. And so you got that fee. You got the guaranteed minimum income benefit fee. You got fees on top of fees on top of fees. It's impossible to make any money in these things because they're so heavy in fees. And that's variable annuities. That's going to be fixed indexed. What are they called? Index annuities. Not fixed annuities, but fixed index annuities. That's going to be index life. I'm drawing a blank what it's called. Oh, don't even get me started on the freaking bank on yourself stuff. Oh, it's crazy. All of these things is fees on top of fees on top of fees, which is why Vanguard, and someone asked me about my favorite funds, Vanguard, American funds, my favorite fund companies, because they keep the fees low. which is why they always outperform their peers. And not every single year, not all the time, but if you look historically, systematically, Vanguard and American funds are always on the top shelf because their fees are low. All right, how did I come up with the name Heritage Wealth Planning? It's funny. I thought long and hard about it, Mike. And I liked it. I've always been a big fan of. I hate to even sound cliche, but look, we raised chickens when I was growing up. We had a compost. We were always a green. We were a conservationist, always, not an environmentalist. No, not in the way it is now. In fact, it scared me. The Greens did pretty well in the European elections. That's freaking frightening, frankly. I do not like the Greens. I'm a conservationist. All members of NRA, by the way, are conservationists. I am a life member of the NRA because we believe in keeping the land fruitful. It's nuts. But anyways, growing up on an island in Maine, using seaweed as the American Indians taught us and things of that nature to raise crops, how to raise chickens. I've always been big on sustainability. Always have been. And I hate to even say sustainability in the cliched way, beyond organic and things of that nature. Some of the stuff we use, permaculture, again, a lot taken over by Marxists, which is frightening because they don't know what they're talking about. But anyway, be it as it may. But I've always liked the idea of sustainability in terms of self-sufficiency. And so I always like the idea of like sustainable retirement planning. But the words get corrupted. I mean, liberal has been corrupted to be a bad thing, unfortunately. The old liberals of the old days, of the old hippies of my parents' generations, were freaking everyone do whatever the hell you want. We don't care. Those days are long gone now. So the liberals of today are not like that anymore. Sustainability means something different than it was to me growing up. Sustainability means taking care of the environment for sure. And now it's command and control with an iron fist. You will do this, the Green New Deal, for instance. So I've always liked the idea of building something that can last for generations. So sustainable wealth, building sustainable wealth. And I had toyed with the idea of putting sustainable in my name for the company, but I didn't want to be, labeled as on the green side of things, and like all these people, they're always looking for so they always pigeonhole themselves. I never like that LGBT stuff. I'm for women's. I'm for, I don't know. I don't like that. I've always said people are people, man. Everyone's got to worry about retirement. Everyone's worried about money. I don't care if you're black, green, yellow, red, man, woman. I don't care. And I didn't ever want to be pigeonholed. And so because of that, I did not use the term sustainability or sustainable in my title, but I use it in the tag. So heritage, you're building a heritage, is a heritage of hopefully staying true to your soul, of being responsible for your actions. And if you do, self-sufficiency comes, sustainable wealth. You're building sustainable wealth to see you through, your surviving spouse, your heirs, without worrying about the crap that's out there in the news. And that's kind of what my thought process was. To my chagrin, heritage is very well used in this industry as appeal to rich people. And you type in heritage wealth, I get Google alerts all the time, but heritage wealth, I'm like, oh God, it's not me. So if you're ever looking at heritage wealth and they're calling something on a stock, that is not me. I don't call any stocks or anything like that. I plan on taking level monthly payments for my TSP. My TSP is in a traditional IRA. Should I use this to gradually convert to Roth? Probably, my man, but I don't know if you're married. I don't know the stats of what you got going on. But generally speaking, once you retire and you're in the lowest tax bracket you'll ever be, without question. The TSP, they had the new act from TSP 2017. I've got a podcast or blog post on that that talks pretty thoroughly about BPA, beneficiary participant account, and even survivors to BPA accounts and whatnot. So if you're married and things of that nature, you got a lot to contend with in the TSP. And if memory serves, you can't pick, you can do Roth conversions, but you can't pick the fund. It has to be prorated if memory serves. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So if you have the G fund, the C fund, the I fund, and the F fund, for instance, or the S, you can't just say I'm taking it from the G. You have to say I'm taking it from a portion, a prorated amount. There's still a prorated thing on the TSP, and I think it is for Roth, but correct me if I'm wrong. Rick, okay, yeah, right on, Rick. So and I got your email on this. I've been meaning to do. I actually have my paper on this right here on Medicare. All right, so Rick was asking about Medicare premiums for Part B and Part D for joint income. Now, okay, so yeah, so Rick was asking in a chat the other day and on here as well. How they do the 2-year look back. So basically, they're literally going to say if you're taking Medicare in 2019, they're going to look at your taxes in 2017. That's how it works. And then what happens is they say, oh, 2017, you have more. Remember, it's modified adjusted gross income. That's before your standard deductions. It's also your tax-free investment accounts too, i.e., your municipal bonds. All right, so let's see. Here it is for 2018. This is literally from the Medicare itself. So if you are in one of these 5 groups, here's what you'll pay. If your yearly income in 2016 was above $170,000 and you're married filing jointly, you pay in 2018 $187.50 per beneficiary. Rick and Ricky or whatever, your wife, each of you will pay $187.50, which is $53.50 higher than the 134 premium for people who have a modified adjusted gross income below 170. So I'll show you. It says it right. I don't know if y'all can see that. Yeah. So there it is. If your income is above that certain amount in 2016, you pay this in 2018. Now we're in 2019. So if your income was above this in 2017, you pay this for 2019. 2020, if your income was above this in 2018, the same thing. And now this is adjusted for inflation. Obama didn't want to make it adjusted for inflation. When they first did this, it was not. Is because of the it wasn't a Trump bill. Is Ryan and Obama, the 2015, if memory serves, they got together and they fixed the Social Security stuff where you can no longer file and suspend, the bipartisan Social Security fix or whatever it's called, where they did index to inflation. So just be advised. All right. So what happens if you drop below? Let's say you go above 170 because you're doing Roth conversions because you listen to your old buddy Josh. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm above 170 because Roth conversions go into your modified adjusted gross income. So the following year, you're paying more for Medicare premiums, Part B and Part D. And we're talking significantly more too here. I mean, that's 33% more, man. So what happens is theoretically is the Social Security, CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They'll get the following year's tax statements and they'll say, oh, you made less than 170 the next year. Thus, will reduce your Part B and Part D premiums. Yeah. Good luck with that. Now, I'm not saying it won't happen. That's what it's supposed to happen. If there doesn't, you can appeal, and people have been successful on appeal, but you got to keep your eyes and ears clean, adjusted for that to see if their premiums do get reduced back to what they were. I hope that makes sense. Slack is in the shack, says I slack a lot. Yeah, well, that's why you're late, man, because you slack a lot, brother. Let's see. There's Chris and Megan. All right, so I forgot what the thing is where they donate money, but it's $10. So let's see what they say. Thanks for the great videos. My wife and I have pensions on 457 plans that we have moved out to include catch up and over 50. Our earnings don't allow us to contribute to a Roth. Do you have any advice on where to invest additional money? Would you advise us to use a separate backdoor Roth IRA? Heard very little positive. Oh, all right. Heard very little positive about something's flying around here, man. Do y'all see that? It's like crazy. The mosquitoes love my CO2 spouting out my mouth. Oh, I'm getting. Oh, never mind. Heard very little positive about whole life policy since we can withdraw from our 457 plans without penalty prior to age 59 and a half. I'm not sure if converting any of these things to Roth makes sense. How old did you say you were? Let's see. Yeah, I don't see how old you all said you were. All right, so Chris and Megan, I'm not a big fan on whole life insurance. I presume you're in your. For some reason, I got 50. You're 57 years old on my head. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you said 457 plans. I'm not a big fan of whole life insurance unless you could put a lot of money in there on a young when you're younger. And what I mean younger, usually anywhere before the age of 40. I'm just not a big fan, and the reason for that is because the costs are pretty extraordinarily high. To make whole life or any kind of cash value life insurance work, you have to give it time to accumulate cash value, to grow and grow and grow. And that usually can happen best when the cost of insurance, the COI, is low. The older you get, the higher the cost of insurance is, which inherently means the less you're going to get returned back to you in terms of interest. There's just no other way around that. So the only time whole life really works, in my humble opinion, or maybe not so much humble opinion, my experience in particular. And when I say whole life, I'm using that to cover whole and universal life policies as well. Universal life is the risk is on you. Whole life, the risk is on the insurance company. Anytime the risk is on the insurance company, they cover the risk by making your premiums high. And that's all there is to it with whole life insurance. The premium is high because the insurance company's worried about the risk. Inherently so. I mean, that's the way insurance companies got to be. So because unless you have a lot of money going in there on the front end and you're in good shape and relatively young now, whole life doesn't make sense. No, I like that backdoor Roth thing. I got no qualm with that at all. I think a lot of people have talked about that. Most people don't have the cash flow to do it. I mean, it's just literally most people don't. So I think a lot of people on YouTube talk about it as this is kind of panacea. And I'm like, dude, I mean, if you have the excess, you absolutely should do the backdoor Roth in terms of excess cash flow to be able to overfund after-tax contributions to your retirement plan. I got no problem with that at all. But you got to make sure your company allows that. I think I was looking at the Boeing. I got some folks on here who would know what I'm talking about. But you look at Boeing, and if I recall correctly, I looked at their statement on their plan. You have to be able to take an in-service distribution to do the backdoor Roth. It was Boeing. And the Boeing plan said if you do an in-service distribution, you cannot make further contributions to your 401k for 18 months, which meant you were not going to get the company match. Something like that. It was nuts. And I said, oh, that was a big flipping deal. Maybe that was NUA. Was it? I can't remember. But I remember the plan was that if you did an in-service distribution, it was a backdoor Roth on the Boeing plan of any kind. I can't remember if it was NUA, which is net unrealized appreciation, but it's the same thing. It's an in-service distribution. But I'm almost positive it was for doing the backdoor Roth. If you did an in-service distribution to roll out what you've accumulated after tax to a Roth and left the remaining money in your 401k. If memory serves, Boeing would allow you to do that, but then you couldn't make contributions to your 401k and collect the match for like 18 months. That's just insane. No reason to do that at all. So in my opinion, what you ought to do is I just start Roth IRAs. Let's see, you and who's your beautiful there? Chris and Megan. So, get Megan to do, I don't know how old you all are, but say $6,000, you do $6,000 and just make those suckers boom. Now, let's say you have more than $12,000 between y'all, then you freaking invest it in a aggressive as all can be index fund, small cap growth. That would be where ideally you put your small cap growth. Not much dividends in there. Money get an index fund, so there's very limited turnover. I mean, so you're talking here, you can get that puppy growing like a crazy man with very little dividends, very little interest, very little taxable gains. I mean, just let that sucker go. Everyone, this is what I despise, this whole this love affair with deferred contributions into 401ks, 457s, 403bs. It's just nuts, man. I'm sitting there thinking, why? Now, I don't know what your tax bracket is specifically, but if you're in a freaking 12% tax bracket, you're not getting hardly any benefit at all of a deferred contribution into a 401k. And I mean, obviously do it for the match for sure, but for heavens forbid, it's like I'm sitting there thinking you're getting a 12% tax deduction today. Well, fast forward a few years when you take that money out and on top of Social Security, now you got two things coming out at the same time, which means that is going to pay $1.85 of taxable income for every $1 you take out of your 401k. It's a freaking, it's criminal. But everyone has this just love affair with the 401k and 403b and 457. I just say, stop it, man. You can easily have limited to no taxes and just a good old fashioned traditional mutual fund that's invested in low turnover, an index fund that doesn't try to time the market, just being in the market with low dividends. And so low turnover will mean low capital gains. You're not going to have a lot of trading activity. If it's low dividends, you're not going to get much taxable income from dividends. And just let that sucker go. You might have a little bit of a 1099, but a couple $100, whoop-de-doo. Anyway, I hope that helps, man. I would stay away from a whole life as much as I could. I definitely look at doing the Roth, backdoor Roth. I love Roth. I would marry Bill Roth if they had legalized that kind of marriage back then, because he's the name of the Roth IRA from Delaware of all places. And I would give that guy whatever they throw that thing, the bouquet of flowers. I throw it right at Bill Roth. And if he caught it, I'd say to my wife, Charlotte, I'm leaving you. I'm going to Bill Roth. That's how much I love the Roth IRA. I do like that. You know what I'm talking about? And whoever catches it, that's who's getting married next. But if you can't do that because of the whatever the rules on your 457 plan, then just forget it. Just do Roth. And like I just said, hope that helps, brother. Thanks for the Snapchat thing or whatever they call that, where they give the money. It's some kind of chat. I forgot what it's called. Let's see here. Okay, super chat. That's what it's called, Scott. Super chat. Right on. Reeve and Reagan, my man, brother, there is no such thing as a dumb question when it comes to money. No dumb question. So don't ever feel you're asking a dumb question on this stuff. All right, so my man Reven says, Reeve and Reagan, would I ever advise to use an investment asset management company? Sorry for the dumb question, but I am really agreeing with this whole retirement planning deal. Yeah, I like Dustin Tibbetts over at Jazz Wealth. I like him a lot because of people just like you. I mean, he's literally there to serve green people, helping them to get educated on this stuff, offering lots of educational stuff. I got people who are on this chat right now who use Dustin. They speak very, very highly of him. For a $20,000 or less account, you're paying $100. That's just a friggin' great thing. So I think it's wonderful. Dustin's point is to allow you to get educated. That way you either recognize the value he's providing and stay with him and pay him, or you leave. And he's very comfortable with that. And I'm a huge fan of that. I don't like investment management companies probably like these folks at Ameriprise I was telling you about before, who just take your money. They call you once a year. They don't call you. Their assistant calls you. And they'll say, hey, Roger, call our man Reven and see if he needs anything going on. And, Roger calls, hey, Reven, this is Roger. I'm the assistant for Jane. And, she just wants to check in. And you're like, man, I was getting ready to go fishing. Can you call me back in 2 weeks? Oh, no, yeah, okay. You just call us back when you get fishing. You're like, I think I'm good. And you don't know any better. So you never call. And they document it that they reached out to you and you're good to go. And they're still going to collect their $2,500 fees. It's nuts. And that's the wrong answer. Doesn't want to do that. So I'm a big fan of Jazz Wealth. I would start with him without question. Vanguard, I love Vanguard. I've said a million times a Sunday. The drawback about Vanguard is that you're not going to learn the way Dustin will teach. You just won't. And I love Vanguard for sure. John Bogle, he's one of my heroes without question. I would absolutely use Vanguard, but you're not going to get the knowledge you need from Vanguard unless you do all the due diligence. And at least with Dustin, he's better. I mean, it's just all there is to it for that. So that's Jazz Wealth. Just remember, folks, Dustin and I will be at his warehouse down there in wherever the hell he is in Florida on Thursday at 1:00 p.m., 1300. And then again at 5 p.m. as well. We're doing two. I can't remember if they're both live sessions or not. But we'll be sitting there and we'll probably be throwing blows in terms of talking about debate financial stuff. I'm just joking. But I will be down there visiting with old Dustin down in his shed there in Tampa, I think is where he's at. So it'll be a lot of fun. So it'll be live stream. So just keep on. And that's, again, Jazz Wealth. I don't get paid from Dustin, just FYI. We have no financial arrangement whatsoever. I don't want anyone to think that I'm getting some kind of kickback. I am not. How am I going to get 500K out of my 401k? Taxes will be 63 soon. How are you going to get it? Hopefully not at once, my man Doug. That'd be insane. So you say, all right, 63 before I'm 70. I got 7 years. I got 500,000. So I take my trusty calculator and I say 500,000 divided by 7. That'd be 71,400 a year to get that thing down to zero by the time you're 70. That's probably be a little bit too much. So maybe you say I'll take 50,000 a year over 10 years. That'll get you there for sure. It just really depends, my friend, on the exact bottom line of your 1040. One of the services, I don't think I ever said this well enough, and I'll leave it on my website. This is why I say when I do my $500 investment review, I would like to look at the taxes too, because they go hand in hand. So let's use Doug for an example right here. Doug says, I'm getting ready to do this. I got 500,000 my 401k. I want it to quickly get that over to Roth IRA as quickly as possible. Well, you got to look at 1040, man. I mean, it'd be insane not to look at the 1040 because the 1040 says, I can't remember what the lines are anymore. I think it's line 9 now. Is that taxable income? The 1040 says taxable income, $145,000. And then I tell Doug, hey, go ahead and do 71,000. Well, he won't be on Medicare right now. But remember, it's a 2-year look back thing. So if he does it when he's 63 years old, then he goes to file Medicare when he's 65. Medicare says, hey, great, Doug, you're going to pay a premium on your Medicare. And if we did more than above 214 modified adjusted gross income, you're doubling your Medicare premiums, not just your Part B for you, Doug, but your Part B for, we know who your wife is. And then on top of that, your Part D and Part D for her as well. And you're like, oh, man, I didn't know that was going to happen. That's why you got to look at the 1040 because now you're saying, I did a Roth conversion, which maybe put me in the 22% tax bracket for the 12 or whatever. And now on top of that, I got to pay for Medicare premium doubling. It starts to look not quite as attractive. That's why it's important to look at the 1040 as well as the investment statements as well. You need risk to make money. I love risk. All right. Right on. Risk to the risk go the rewards. You make Social Security sound like a pretty fair deal for people. Why not expand it, raising payroll taxes? I say we need $70 each. Social Security is fixed without question. Increase your Social Security payroll tax by $70 each. That'll make it $70 to the employer, $70 to you, and we are good to go. I don't have any qualm with that at all, Bob. Look, I'm freaking capitalist, man. I got no shame at all about capitalism, free markets whatsoever. But Social Security is a good safety net. I've no qualm with that at all. Yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme. I mean, there's no other way around that. It absolutely is. I mean, the idea that Social Security is just Al Gore lockbox is silly, but it does protect people from running out of money. I mean, as a civil society, I think there's benefits to that for sure. I don't like the minimum wage. I certainly don't want gun regulations and all that, but I think there is a reason to have Social Security and even things like Medicare. You don't even want me to read you this thing let me just read you this real quick, my friends. This is nuts. There was a lady. Hold on a second. This is on the Washington Free Beacon. She's a congresswoman out of California, Porter. She had a $3,000 bill because she went to get an out-of-network by accident, and the doctor sent her a $3,000 bill. All right, we've all been through that. It's freaking bullcrap. We all know how that is. This is why I've just the way it is now. You either do a voucher program with a guaranteed issue for people who can't get for pre-existing issues with a voucher program for the rest, and you subsidize these people because those people are few and far between, but you subsidize the other people. You subsidize them, let the other people go on the free market, or it's going to be one single payer. And if it's single payer, we're all doomed. All right, so she had $3,000 because she's out of network, right? And so she gets this bill. She keeps getting these bills, All of a sudden, she got elected to Congress. What do you think happened to her $3,000 bill? Take a guess. Think they collected it? Think she got freaking those letters? Like I got one right here that says, if you don't pay, we're sending the freaking mafiosa after you. No, it just magically was waived. The hospital just took care of it. Just, so great. Because she's Congress. You tell me this. If that doesn't, well, let me give an example. Make sure. Okay. let's just put this way. Let's just say there's a young family who has a child at the NICU, the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. The young family has a child there for the first month of her life, and she's just racking up the bills after bills after bills. Lots of bills because the NICU, the little daughter that they had ventricular tachycardia, which is an incredibly fast heartbeat. And there's no way they've ever seen that before other than a couple cases in San Antonio. So they're like, we got to keep track of her in the NICU for the first month of her life because we're not sure if she's going to survive. Long story short, we finally get that young couple finally was able to get that young little baby full of joy, bring her home, and the bills start coming in, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Lo and behold, somebody that young couple knew was running for political office. Let's just put it that way. Who also had a child at the same NICU the same time that young couple did too. Same kind of thing, bills after bills after bills, and guess what happened? Hospital waived the bills for one of those couples. Take a guess which couple got the bills waived. Just take a wild guess. Yeah. All right. So that's how insane the freaking this is with the government running healthcare, because they always pick favorites, and you, my friend, will never be on the right side of that favorite being picked. It will always be on the outside looking in. It's always going to be the people with power, and always be us paying the bills for these freaking fools. Now, look, that lady, I read the article. She didn't seem like she's saying, yeah, look at me. I mean, she didn't seem like she was sitting there, and she's a Democrat, she's a lib, and you know how these people are. But she did not seem like she was saying, I expect that to happen. So, to her credit, she wasn't like some of these elitists who say, freaking flying around their private jets while claiming about griping about climate change. But we know this happens all the time. Do you think John McCain, when he had his cancer treatment, had to go through the same stuff that we had to have to go through? No, we know how this works. So anyway, I like Social Security. It does provide a safety net to keep people off poverty. I don't have any qualm with providing a safety net for pre-existing conditions that's subsidized with a taxpayer. I don't have any problem with that at all. But what is going on now is broken. There's just no way around that. And I hope to God that it's fixed freedom way, which is vouchers, not the way that they're doing it now. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Speaking of Dave Ramsey, what was I saying about Dave Ramsey? I forgot what I was saying about Dave. I had a thing on Dave Ramsey the other day, and someone had asked me something else about it. I forgot what it was now. But all right, so Rob, in my 401k, I have funds that pay fees of 1%. Is 401k. But have consistent return higher than the difference in fees. Well, yeah. I mean, look, man, you past performance, Rob's never, you can't, I don't know. You can't say the past performance is no guarantor of future performance. I get that. But man, if you're comfortable with it, then stick with it. I got no problem with that. None whatsoever. There are funds that outperform without question. I mean, there are funds that outperform. I just find it crazy that a 401k still has funds that charge 1% fees. That's nuts. Dave Ramsey showed is buffered by all the mutual fund he talked people into. Oh man, that is funny. The dude just said, give me $10 on the Snapchat thing or the super chat. Thank you, dude. Much obliged. Let's see. Life member of the NRA here too. Look, if you're not a member of the NRA, I'm fine. But you don't have to be. I'm not here to promote the NRA. I am here to promote freedom in all its senses, which is First and Second Amendment for sure. Great Riff says, I'm in the same situation, Robert. The gross expense ratio of my favorite fund is almost double that of any other fund. But yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable with what you got, no reason to move. That's why I wish there was. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's all there is to it. Any thoughts on TIA guaranteed annuity? Yeah, I'm a fan, Joanne or Joan. TIA is another of those firms that freaking talk a big game, holier than now. And when it comes down to it, but those guaranteed annuities are pretty sweet. No other way around that. Joan, and I would not have any qualm with staying with that. None whatsoever. Let's just put it this way, though. TIA Cref, I don't even know it's TIA Cref anymore. Talk about freaking self-righteous morality, just poachers. Oh, my goodness. I can't tell you how many people I know from TIA who told me horror stories of blatant racism. I mean, against black people, blatant racism. And like, you hear this stuff all the time. You don't know what to believe anymore. But just, I was like, this is nuts. But I've heard it, not racism so much, but even I heard from the white guys tell me just how bad the management was. I was like, these people are freaking insane. And yet they say for the greater good. The greater good is the line in their pockets, man. I tell you, it's nuts. And unfortunately, USAA, in their wisdom, they took the TIA CREF model and brought it to USAA. And you're sitting there thinking, what? The TIA CREF model was a free. I mean, I hope you guys have been following. You probably haven't, but they've been getting sued left and right, not just for horrible management from their employees, but also they're getting sued for overcharging or something. I can't remember what it was, but they got big time, and they're getting. I forgot what it was, but they were getting hammered by lawsuits by like high fees or something like that. I forgot. Putting people in high fee funds is what it was. TIA. And everyone knew it. I knew it. All right. So my man, the dude with a Snapchat, a super chat. I don't even use Snapchat. Do you know if the current income tax law reverts back to the old in a few years? Yep, it sure does, my brother. Yes, it does. The dude. 2026 is when it grandfathers back to what it was. We shall see. We shall see. If the Trumpster gets reelected, then it'll probably. We shall see. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out for sure. Get a bill on a tattoo. Carol C. I have Ameriprise. Watch my video, Miss Carol. Watch my video. I don't think it was you who sent me the stuff. So, yeah. My man Bruce, I heard on May 30th, the financial world was going to get rocked. A couple well-known financial gurus. They're going to call themselves a Southern fool. me and Bruce, me and Dustin, yes sir. Define rocked. All right, he's the only one that could put a reasonable limit on them. Hey Tom, I have to ask Josh, what was the reasoning for that assessment? Okay, I'm not following that. Bob, 401k to Roth 401k, what's the deal on those? Do they make sense? Limitations like employer participation. All right, so Bob, whenever you do a 401k, the traditional, two things are happening. Your money is going into the pre-tax bucket, and the employer's money is also going to the pre-tax bucket. When you do a Roth, your money is going into the after-tax bucket. Your employer's money is still going to the pre-tax bucket. So essentially what you're doing is you're saying, and this is the drawback by the Roth 401k, and there's just no two ways around this. I am saying I'm willing to pay more taxes today for the ability to have little to none taxes in the future. Now, I think that's worth it because I'm telling you, just going back to our Medicare stuff, going back to tax on Social Security, going back to tax on qualified dividends, tax on long-term capital gains, the whole thing. Going back to the widow's tax trap, if you're dead, you leave this 401k, deferred contributions, deferred taxes to your surviving spouse, who's going to have required distributions, who's now a single taxpayer, on top of leaving it to your heirs. But if, like my man VJ, who wrote in the other day, if you're in a 35% tax bracket now, and you can easily see, that's probably a reason why I start buffering again. Let's see if it stays on tack here. What do you think about Vanguard Star Fund? I just so many better funds over there, John. I just not a fan. I like the life strategy funds for sure. Total stock market index fund. They got better funds than the Star Fund. Let's put it that way. Can you greet me? I'm from Germany. All right, on Germany. You got to tell your people to stop voting for those crazy greens, man. Hey. All these greens run around flying private planes saying they got to deal with climate change because CO2. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. My granddad's name was Deichmann. They were from my daughter looked this up someplace right before the First World War. They're from Austria. They came here, landed in a copper mine, I think, or gold mine in Bisbee, Arizona, speaking German, if you believe that. Were drafted in World War I, and I can only imagine the kind of the racism they had to face during World War I, because the Germans were part and parcel of the cause of World War I on the other side. And I don't think they ever went, but I'm sure they thought, hey, because you speak German, we're going to send you overseas. But I don't think he ever went. Anyway, the story is my grandma, who was left alone in Bisbee, Arizona, and this is before AC. This is before basically any electricity. She had shot a rattlesnake or a copperhead or something like that was chasing after her. How awesome is that? And she was American. But anyway, I'm thinking a German guy from some tiny place in Slovenia or something like that, some tiny little town, moves to Bisbee, Arizona. Yeah, culture shock. Anyway, and then they moved to Kansas City, where my granddad was born. And my granddad's brother, my uncle, actually was a fighter pilot and took out a Japanese battleship. And I'm drawing a blank what it's called. And it's in Wikipedia and everything. It's I mean, just think about it. Here are German natives, right, who come from Austria/Germany, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, come to America, was drafted in World War I. I don't think that guy actually went, but he was ready to because he spoke the language. They moved to Kansas City. His children fight. My granddad was a fighter pilot, was a test pilot who flew with John Glenn. Yeah, John Glenn. My his brother was a fighter pilot who took out a Japanese battleship. And then two of my other uncles, whatever it was, my grandbrother's brothers, became priests in Brazil and Chile. And then one of their sisters became a nun in Brazil or Chile or something like that. And then my other granddad's uncle or granddad's brother also served in the Navy, but I think he might have served in Korea. I mean, just think about that. One generation removed from being in Germany, they were American patriots, which I do want to, this always makes me freaking, always brings me hard to think about. Tomorrow is Memorial Day. It's not Happy Memorial Day. It's, I mean, these guys, and I think it's not just, I mean, you think about just how wonderful of a story that is. And then I'm watching, these black guys who are getting horrifically discriminated against in America and dying in battle for the country that hates them. And it's amazing. They come back still as patriotic, the ones who didn't die, of course, as anybody. And it's profound to me how much that I can't believe it. I mean, I think about my relatives are German. My others are from Ireland, right? So we got German and Irish coming in here. They all come, the Scots-Irish come, they settle the Appalachian Trail. They settle the Southeast region, which is why it's pretty conservative because fiercely independent. The American Indians, just getting horribly discriminated against, and they still served as it's mind-boggling. The level of different cultures that are coming together to serve honorably, and not all of them, I get that, and then die in Vietnam and friggin' Dresden. Maybe not Dresden, but Vietnam and Germany and just Iwo Jima. It's nuts to me, and I find it horrific when people like Alexander Ocasio-Cortez are just so hating on the country. Like she's saying something about cauliflower being a colonialist, racist. This is insanity. The people who did this for our country, who laid their lives on the line, they deserve better than these fools that are saying how bad it is. I just don't look. I'm not one of these guys, American love it or leave it. I find that to be offensive. You don't have to love the country, but you have to love the freedoms it provides to you to hate the country. And I just don't get it. I just think of all these people, man, and then I think about the draft and all these people who are forced against their will to serve. And I don't like that. I'm not a fan of the draft. I think the draft is one of the reasons all these effing wars happen all the time, because they have a cheap supply of labor to fight their stupid wars. I don't think there should be. But I think about all these guys that just, all races, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that a man and some women would go overseas, gladly fight for a cause. And I don't have the book in front of me, but one of my professors, Dr. Kerry Meyer, had written a book, MEY, or one to France, or I can't remember. And they're writing letters from home. And, this is World War I. And it's you're reading about these things. It's just farm kids, man. 19-year-old farm kids. They don't know what the hell's going on. And yet anyway, it's Memorial Day tomorrow. Look, man, I'm not one to sit there and say, friggin' be out there all day long, stand at salute. No, but I am. I just, if you think about it for a second, you think here we are doing what we're doing here today, only because of people of all shapes and sizes, of all ethnicities, who just, it's just nuts to me. It really, really is. And I hope that we've can learn maybe not to intervene so much. That way we don't have to watch people die for some freaking war that some politician thinks is mandatory, for sure. I hope that happens. But with that, just think about it. I still, to this day, the people, some of the most patriotic people in the world are the Black people in America. And I just sit there and think, I hear all these, the whole thing with people of color, and I'm like, no, don't throw yourself in with the Black people here, man. I mean, the only two people who have a right to claim that are American Indians and Blacks. If you moved over here to your own accord, if you came here from Somalia, like that crazy lady up in Minnesota, I don't want to hear any crap about you hating on America. Put that crap away. Go. I mean, that literally, you hated here to get the hell out. I don't care. You came here. We invited you. We invited you to our country. Did you hear about the Somali gang that were beating up all kinds of people in Minnesota the other day? I mean, no. That stuff shouldn't happen. You are invited here. We did not. We said we'll take you because Somali's bad. We have dead men in my 10th Battle Division, as a matter of fact, in Somalia, and now you're coming here and pick freaking flags. Screw that. That's the wrong answer. I don't want to hear any of that. But Black people in the South, Black people all over the United States, they could. No. Don't throw in with those Black people, because they actually were discriminated against horribly, and American Indians too. All the other people. Anyway, all right. Let's see. All right. So sorry about that. Let's. Currently 21 years old and have obviously paid in Social Security. However, by the time I retire, the program will be insolvent. I need some evidence on that, Matthew. I need evidence. All right. This is, you can't say that and get away with me, brother. I need evidence that's going to be insolvent, because the implication is that won't be there. Where do we say? Just show me that, please. I mixed PFF with gold and M1 to make gold not seem so bad. I call it my defense pie. No, man, I got no problem with PFF. I'm a huge fan of PFF. Said that a million times. No problem with that. Tom says, love your channel. If my wife starts to take her Social Security early, can she later switch to mine when I reach full retirement age and get 50% credit? It completely depends on your age, my friend. Her age and your age, you got to be born before January 5th, 1st, or January 2nd, 1954. If not, the answer is no. When she starts to take her benefit, they'll deem her to take the most of her benefit or the spousal benefit. If you haven't taken your benefit, she will only be able to take hers. So the answer to that is no, because of the law of 2015. I like Schwab Intelligent Portfolios, Hotel Boss. I got a video on that. I'm a big fan of the Schwab Intelligent Portfolios for sure. I watched that video. It's a year old. I can't imagine much has changed there, but I'm a big fan of the Intelligent Portfolios. Rick says, if my wife is 8 years older than me and is there much of an advantage to wait past FRA to take Social Security? Is there much of an advantage to wait past I'm not following it. Is there much advantage for her to wait past? I don't get the question, Rick. If my wife is 8 years older than me, is there much advantage to wait past FRA to take so? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of advantages to wait to take Social Security beyond your FRA. Absolutely. I'm just not sure who you're thinking about here. Tomorrow is remember and celebrate those that gave the most of this country. Yep, have a nice ring to it. Memorial Day just has a nicer ring to it. Yeah, exactly. Sorry if this is redundant. If over 60, no longer working, single, should you? Yes. All right. So my man Bob says, I'm over 60, no longer working, single. Should I draw down my 401k now? Absolutely. You should draw down your 401k now. And do it before RMDs kick in, but certainly before you start taking Social Security, for sure, without question. All right, we still got 100 people sitting here, so I guess there's an article my man Roth from PEI has sent me. Why saving too much for retirement is just as risky as saving too little. Only 20% of 65-year-old Canadians, and this is from the National Post, which I think Ross is the right-wing part of, or at least the conservative media of Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Right wing does not mean alt-right. It just means the not mainstream media. Only 20% of 65-year-old Canadians will live for 30 years, and that means their money will outlive them. I do want to point out, so I'll read this article probably in full tomorrow I'll do a video on it. Man, The whole problem with freaking financial planning, traditional financial planning, is that we're saying the safe withdrawal rate of 4%. Well, the safe withdrawal rate of 4% means you never, ever one time had no money after a 30 to 35 year retirement. The facts are not that many people are going to have a 30 or 35 year of retirement. Just not. So you're going to say, I got, I'm going to only take 4% out because, like this guy says, only 20% of the people live 30 to 35 years. All right. Well, that assumes so many things that you're going to live for those 30 to 35 years. Oh, Denise. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Super chat from Denise. If you have any questions specifically, super chat. I'm following my man Wrangler Star. He says the people ask for super chats get first dibs. Anyway, so if your 4% rule is sufficient, where you're saying that is a guarantee essentially of a safe withdrawal rate, not really guaranteed, but you get where I'm going with that. And you're only going to take 4% a year out because you're worried that you're going to live for 30 years. All right, what if? And so the vast majority of us don't live for those 30 years. They just don't. And so now you're didn't spend enough. And on top of that, we know for evidence that your actually income declines or income needs declines as you age. So there's two things wrong with the 4% rule, is that i.e. you're not going to live that long, and B, your actually earnings, your income needs are going to drop. So if that were to happen, you've been living a pauper so your kids could eat surf and turf. Don't do that. It's just, there's so many issues with these things. So that's why I always say 5% rule. Just take 5% out. Be done. You're done. For so many reasons, what I just said right there, on top of the fact that you're not going to live for 30 to 35 years. And on top of that too, the 4% rule assumes you never made any adjustments in your retirement. I'm sitting there thinking, people make adjustments all the time. Oh my gosh. I mean, you got to say, look, the market is down 10%. I'm not going to spend as much as I did last year. I'm not going to give myself a raise for inflation. All these things. It's just, yeah. So I like this article. I'll go into it more now, but Larry Kolikoff had a podcast that he did with Advisor Perspective yesterday that I listened to. He talks about unconventional financial planning, the problems with conventional financial planning. He talks about all this. He talks about, I did a video, I can't remember if that's what I did, where I had to cancel because the audio was bad. But here's your old buddy Josh, 6 miles to feed, one income coming in, 48 years old, got a big fat house, a big fat mortgage, got braces, got glasses, got sports activities, got broken bones. You name it, we got it. All right. Got, kids all over the place. Can't keep track where all these kids are running around to. I remember their names half the time. Well, anyway, so what happens is you got this guy, Josh, up here. All right. Well, the financial plan based on this relative to this guy, Josh, over here at 68 years old, was just me and Charlotte. That's stupid. I mean, we're going to sell the house. We're going to downgrade. We're going to freaking go to some place in Tennessee, or maybe, who knows? But, we can live in 3-bed, 2-bath house in freaking, Central Tennessee, Loudon, Tennessee, or something like that for a song. We're not going to need this house right here. We're not going to. We're not going to need 3 cars. We're not going to have 8,000 kids on auto insurance. We're just not going to spend as much. We're not going to need braces. We're not going to need glasses. So I mean, the idea that I have this. Let's just say I made $100,000. I got $100,000. I need 80% a year of that. It's just stupid. It's dumb. And that's why the consumption smoothing is so wonderful, because it says, all right, you're up here. You're going to be down here. If we're saving money for this likelihood, that means you're going to be way overshooting the reality. And on top of that, Larry doesn't talk about this, but I will. The reality is that you're not only going to be way overshooting it, but in reality, your income needs are going to be dropping anyway. They're already low enough, then they're still going to drop. Nuts. All right. I heard that RMD would be better safe withdrawal. I have heard that RMD would be a better safe withdrawal rate than the 4% rule. I mean, RMD will never run out of money, but that literally doesn't mean anything. It's like the old thing. If you are here and I am here and we go together at a half distance every time, we never actually reach because we're only going at a half distance every time. Does that make sense? So we never actually touch because we're only going at a half distance every time. That's the same thing with RMDs. I mean, at some point your account could be so low, $10 and your RMD is, 27.2, 8, whatever, 22%. Well, you're only taking $2.20. So your RMD, you'll never run out of money, but you're just not going to have anything to live on. Hope that makes sense. That's the issue with the RMDs. It says it will reduce the amount you have to take out based on a dwindling portfolio, but you will never run out of money. That's a fact. You just won't have much to live on. Yeah, well, Jack, if the RMD increases to 72, that'd be a step in the right direction. It's not the most sweeping. I mean, if that's the most sweeping legislation on retirement since 2006, as these folks are telling us, that ain't much though. But yeah, you're right. I hope they do. I hope they raise to 75 for heaven's sake. The 4% rule is stupid. Figure out what your bills are, add in a buffer. I cannot agree more, Tom. 100%. Old age security income, by the way, apologize, is a fund that is projected to be insolvent by 2035. Is it projected to be insolvent? Because what I see, what you're saying insolvent means it won't exist. Now, I mean, so tell me if that's what you're saying, my man. Look, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but we got to define these terminologies because I hear this all the time about Social Security, old age and security income, and survivor income, which is OASI, that it's going to be insolvent. A lot of people think someone won't be there. And again, the evidence, please. And the evidence is absolutely that it won't be there. And the evidence is that it will be there. They might need to reduce your benefits by 23%. And then they won't need to reduce them again until 2091. We'll have to reduce it by another 20% or something like that. Now, again, that assumes that the three options that the Social Security Trustees report says, they got a 4.5%, a 5.5%, and a 6.5% unemployment rate from now in perpetuity. And they're saying there's going to be a 5.5% unemployment rate forever. And the irony is that we haven't had a 5.5% unemployment rate for the last 3 or 4 years. And no one's expecting that, especially with a shrinking population. You have a shrinking population, you have more jobs than people to fill them. So the likelihood of a 5.5% unemployment rate, which is what the trustees report is the intermediate assessment, what they're basing it on. I mean, that could happen for sure. But what if it doesn't? Well, if it doesn't, and that changes everything. And we're not at a 5.5% unemployment rate right now, for sure. So because of that, I'm not saying I don't want to be Pollyannish here, but the idea that insolvency equates to what exactly? That's what we have to define. 23% benefit reduction is a hell of a lot different than it won't be there. And so many people, brother Matthew, is that they think it's not going to be there. And I say it's stupid to say that because it absolutely is. There's no evidence at all of that. There is evidence that we'll have to take reductions, or the simple fix, raise everybody's payroll tax by $70 a paycheck, increase the full retirement age to 70, done. I mean, literally is that simple. We got to raise the tax on the wealthy. All right, that's not going to do anything. It might do a little bit. If you want to do that to make you feel good because you're jealous of the rich people, fine, I don't care. But at the end of the day, that's not going to literally raising the employment tax for Social Security for FICA on the rich people isn't going to do anything. It's a freaking drop in the bucket. You got to get the people who pay into it, the middle class people who are the dominant force of this U.S. To pay more if you want to make it more solvent for sure. And until you do that, it's all silly. And that's why I say $70 pop, done, and we're good. And then raise the FRA to 70. Let's see here. Sorry to be a pest. Why draw down that 401k before taking Social Security? Because the minute you start taking Social Security, your 401k at the same time via required distributions or anything, you're going to subject yourself to a double income tax. Tons of videos on how that happens. It's nuts. And I think it just, yeah. All these people say they're there for the middle class. Yeah. Well, Joe Biden, where have you been, brother? Where have you been? If I have $1 of income, why then do I have to pay $1.85 of? Why does that? I have $1 of income, $1, but yet now I got $1.85 of taxable income on that $1 of spending income. Because what happens is the 401k distributions leave my Social Security to be taxed. $1 extra adds $1.85 to my taxable income. Where is middle class Joe? He's only been around forever, hasn't done a damn thing about that. And George W. Bush didn't do a thing about it either. So I'm bipartisan here. We're here for the middle class. Who gets affected by that? It's actually not even the middle class. It's below that. It's the working, I don't even want to say poor, and I hate to say working class because I think that's offensive, but it's the lower end of the middle class spectrum. We get killed by that. It's nuts. And that's is absolutely 100% out there and true. I've actually showed you, not you, Bob, but videos on that, how that works. It offends me greatly that that's still happening, but there you go. It's a nation of tax code and it's a bullcrap. Because the market is wild now, I'm more conservative with a great percent of bonds than stocks that might normally do good strategy. When is the market not wild? That's what I'd say. Wild being is up and down, or when is it not wild? When it settles? What does that mean when it settles? And in my experience, hotel bars is normally that means when it settles, having gone up. And it never settles. All right. So it never does. Every single year, if you look historically, there is an average of peak to trough. Is that what it is? Of 14% on every single year. Up years, down years, every year in between. The markets usually have a 14% decline throughout any given year. The market is always wild. It never settles. So I'm not saying don't have bonds. I always hear when the market settles down or something along those lines, I always say, when is that exactly? And usually when they think about it, when it goes up again, I said, well, you miss that if you're in bonds. So, I mean, but teach us on, I don't care. You got to do what you got to do to sleep at night. I am not here to judge anyone if they can't sleep at night because the stocks are too wild. By all means, the most important thing is their sanity for sure. Yeah, Sergio, your thoughts on the rent versus own study taking 30 years into consideration for owner's mortgage payment and end after 30 years while rents can. Yeah, man, that's that's actually. I think you're referring to the video I did earlier today, Sergio. That's actually a great point. I didn't think about it like you would until you framed that. If you own a house after 30 years, you have no mortgage. If you rent a house, you have a rent. I think that's the answer right there, man. If you own a house with no mortgage and you rent a house with a rent, you have that outgoing cash flow at 100%. You have no equity. You have that outgoing cash flow. I highly suspect the people who saved money on rent did not invest that, buy term and invest the rest. It never happens. So the people with a mortgage of forced savings, i.e. your old buddy Josh, can say, got this equity. What should I do with it? Oh, there are things I can do with this equity to turn into an income stream. Be it downsize, be it do a reverse mortgage. We've talked about this a million times on Sunday. None of those options are there for the renters. None. And yet the rents are going to increase and they're getting older, which means their income's dropping and yet the rents increase. Tough to be a renter in retirement, man. That's a good point. My man Rob got to sign off. Josh fans, have a great Memorial Day. When you hit the RMD age, which currently is 7.5, add in Social Security as you go. Yeah. Collective investment funds stated expense ratio was 0.29, but underlying funds would add up to 0.56. As the CIT expenses add on top of the fund of funds. Oh boy. Fund of funds always have their own expenses, and then you got to add this expense of the funds in there as well. Smash the like button on your way out, says my man Bruce. And then Tom says, not sure why I buy a fund that the Vanguard Life Strategy funds contain other funds. I'm pretty comfortable with that. But with that said, they're going to be a little bit higher fees because they got to organize the funds together. So that's pretty much it, my friends. But I think thanks for y'all being here. For the folks who gave me the super chats, much obliged. I tell you, that money will go to good use. New 401k plan, says my man Daniel. If you have other comments, you want to put them down here, please do. Please do hit the smash button on your way out, like my man Bruce says. It does help a lot, a little thumbs up thing. The YouTube algorithm is if you watch that guy, Graham, Steven, or whatever his name is, he says hit it because it does help a lot for the algorithm for sure. And the more YouTube algorithm loves me, hopefully the more people we can serve with these kind of live chat. So we'll see you not Monday, but the Monday after the Bruins hopefully are up 2-3-0. We shall see. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chris and Megan. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.